Hi, this is Tim from UK Home Gym, your home for UK specific independent home gym tips and advice. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about AI and why I think it's probably ruining your lifting progress if you're using it. Um, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think AI is not really suitable for you um, in terms of making a better lifter. Now, what I'm talking about with AI is I'm talking about AI powered apps or maybe like maybe you're using a software like ChatGPT or something like that to sort of help you build a program. I know a lot of people do that. I've met a lot of people who are doing that, and I think that they are not getting the results that they want. And that's because I don't think that AI is completely compatible with lifting. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why. And I think this may be a divisive subject, and I'd really, really love to hear your comments if you've used AI and you think that it's sort of it's brought you great results. If you can negate any of the points I'm going to make, I'd love to hear those. My opinion on this is not set in stone, and I think it will probably change in the future as AI starts to advance. But what I'm saying is, in its current form, I don't think AI is something that you should be using at all if you're trying to make progress in terms of lifting weights, basically. Let's leave it at that. I'm not going to talk about whether you've got a strength goal or a muscle building goal or something like that. Okay, so 5 reasons. Reason number one. Let's start from the beginning. Now, if you are a beginner, or you're just maybe let's not even say that you're a beginner. Let's say that you are a beginner of using this AI platform that you've started using, and you ask AI to create you a lifting program. Now, AI is, if you ask it to do that, is going to try to pull from, the sources it considers the best um, on the internet, and those will be cookie cutter programs, right? And what I mean by cookie cutter programs is, it's nothing personalized to you, it's nothing customized to you. They're designed for, a person, a general person. That person doesn't really exist. It certainly isn't you. Um, it's going to give you some very generic exercises that are not necessarily tailored to what you need to work on, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, what your goals are. It's going to be, very, very generalized. Now, what's the disadvantage of this? Now, if you had a coach, someone who'd worked with you for a couple of sessions, who'd spoken to you a lot and had a little bit of an understanding of what you want, the coach can create a customized program for you. Even better, what about if you could create your own programs? What about if you learned how to do that and you learned how to create a program? Do you think that your program would be better than whatever the AI could come up with? I would say undoubtedly yes. And if you can do that, you can give yourself a better starting program to begin with, right? So if you know that you're weak, in the posterior chain, for example, you can build a program around around that. But there's also elements you can't just say, well, right, well, I'll ask AI to build me a program around the posterior chain. It may be there are lots of different factors sort of feeding in there, and AI is always going to kind of fall back when you don't give it enough information. It's always going to fall back on whatever it thinks that the best sources are. So it will just pull out something that's very generic. And I don't think that at any stage of your lifting journey you should be asking for a cookie cut program. Anyway, that's point number one. Point number two is at the moment, AI can't really get inside your head. So it can't really gauge the way you feel on any particular day. It can't understand whether you're telling it the truth when you ask something of it, or whether you are not 100% sure, you're not completely committed to a course that you say that you're committed to. A good coach can. A good coach, can get inside your head and can see this person isn't quite telling me 100% the truth. I sent them away to do, this amount of exercise every week. I can see, from our next session together, they haven't done it, or it hasn't gone according to plan, or I can see their mood is not particularly right. AI is not going to be able to pick up on those things yet because it can't get inside your head. It can only deal with the information that you're feeding it through the app or through a keyboard or whatever. And you're not, you're not giving enough cues, and it doesn't have enough tools to understand exactly what you're trying to, what's going on psychologically. And lifting, there is a huge psychological element to it, and AI just isn't in tune with that right yet. Maybe one day we'll have, wires coming out of our heads or whatever. It will be very Matrix-like, and we'll be able to get a better idea, or AI will be able to get a better idea. But for the moment, that's not happening. The next point is nuance. Now, AI doesn't really have any nuance. It can't really understand anomalies, or it doesn't really know how to deal with lifting anomalies. You may have a really, really, really good day in the gym. You may have a really, really, really bad day in the gym. And that could have been caused by all sorts of different factors. Maybe you got a really good night's sleep. Maybe the temperature is just perfect outside. Maybe you're in a great mood. Maybe you're listening to one of your favorite songs or whatever, or a very uplifting song as you lift. And, maybe you slept really badly. Maybe, your baby was up all night and it didn't let you sleep properly. Maybe the temperature's not quite right, not to your liking. Maybe you read something in the news that made you upset. There's all sorts of little bits of nuance that could complicate and could sort of, throw your day, throw your lifting session, one way or the other. And nuance, that there's a lot of that. AI can't pick up on all of those things. And it's going to make, when you have one of those days, it's going to cause problems for AI because it's going to think that you are better or worse at lifting, or it needs you to go to a certain stage that you may not need to go back to. You may not need to take a step back. You may not be able to take that step forward yet. Let me give an example. I train as like a hybrid training. I've mentioned this on the channel before. And that means that I run and I lift weights. And recently, in early April, I ran a marathon. And during the marathon training, I really scaled down the weights. So I was lifting a lot lighter than I was, before the training. I've got a big goal, and my goal is it may sound not very impressive to you, but it's certainly a goal for me that I've been working towards for a long time. And that is, I'd love to do 61 kilograms. Don't ask me why 61 kilograms, but anyway, 61 kilograms overhead press, 5 clean reps. Now, I've come very close to that many times, but I haven't quite hit that particular thing. I want to do 5 clean reps of 61 kilograms. Obviously during the marathon training, I didn't, I scaled it right down. I was doing, much lower weights, nothing over 55 really, during the training, and then coming up to the marathon itself and post the marathon during the recovery period, a lot lighter than that, right? So yesterday was the day that I sort of specialize in OHP on that particular day. That's my big lift of the day. And I did 55 as a warm-up, and it just flew up, the bar just flew up, and I knew I haven't lifted 61 kilograms. In fact, I haven't lifted 61 kilograms this year because I don't think I've lifted it this year because I was in marathon training from the very beginning of the year, basically. So yeah, even before I put the weight on the bar, I knew it was going to fly up, and it did. It flew up, 61 kilograms. It flew up, and sometimes during my sort of strength training, my strength blocks before, it hasn't flown up quite so easily as that. And maybe if I try it next week, it won't fly up like that, and it'll be a real grind. I might just get it. I might fail the lift. And you know what was it about that day that I just knew the bar was going to fly up? I don't know. I don't really know why I had, it went so well, but I just knew it. I could feel it. Now, AI can't take any of those things into account. Sometimes you go in, to do a lift, and maybe you're doing a deadlift, right? And you do, you're trying to get 200, 210 or something like that. One day you go in the gym and you've never done 200 before, but you feel you've got it, and you make a go for it. 200 and it goes up, and then you put 210 on it and it goes up as well, right? And then the next session you come back in a week's time, and you struggle to get 190 off the ground. AI can't understand why that's happening to you. If you've proved to AI that you can do it, it sort of is going to ask you to keep doing that again. It doesn't understand the anomaly. We don't understand the anomaly. As I said, there's hundreds of different factors that may cause it. A coach may be able to pick up on that, and if you know yourself well enough, may be able to say, well, look, just that day I slept really. In fact, on the day before I did that lift, I slept really well. I felt really good. I was in a great mood, and I just felt very strong walking into the gym. And that happens. And then other days you'll walk in and you will just feel really weak, and you'll look at the bar and you'll think, if it's me versus that bar, the bar's going to win. And what can account for that? AI certainly can't. A good coach or you can. The next one is also about nuance, and that is your goal. Your goal is very nuanced. Most people who I've met who lift seriously, if you ask them why do you lift, they can give you a 1 or 2 word answer if pushed. But if you speak to them in a little bit more, in a bit more detail, basically, you're going to find that it's actually very complicated. And if I tried to explain to you why I lift weights, it would take me a long time, and I don't even know if I could articulate it properly at all with words. I don't know if I can articulate it in my own head. So if that's the case, and I think that's the case for so many people, how are you going to spell out over over a keyboard or by pushing a few buttons on an app? How are you going to explain to AI what your goal is? And if you can't explain your goal, in a satisfactory manner through the keystrokes on a keyboard, AI is going to start pushing you in a direction that you might not want to go in, and that could cause you problems further down the line, because it's pulling you one direction when you're not quite sure that you want to go in that direction. The last point maybe is going to make me sound like a bit of a Luddite, and that's not what I am. I use modern technology a lot, and I think it's fantastic, and it's a big part of my life. But I think lifting is analog and AI is digital, and the two they're not a natural fit for each other. I think you can use a lot of digital tools in your lifting journey if you want to, but basically it's you and big pieces of steel, and that's about it, really. And I don't know, maybe some things in life should be sacred and some areas of life should be digital free. Maybe lifting is one of them. And, you may think, well, that sounds like a very old fashioned opinion to have. I'm not sure that I think that, you know, there's no place at all for AI, um, but particularly in its current form, I don't know. And I just really like, nothing beats for me, on a nice day, a nice sunny day or something like that. Take some weights out into the garden and just listen to the bird song, and not even listen to any music or anything like that, and just lift some weights. I think there's something very I don't know, there's something very primal about it. There's something very you know very yeah, I think there's something very refreshing about not being plugged in to something while you're doing it, not being at the beck and call of some particular app or something like that when you're doing it, keeping all your records on paper and using a pen and stuff like that. I think that there's definitely a place for just putting all of that stuff aside and just saying this is my sacred time to not be with technology, not be with digital stuff, not be with AI. Okay, AI is with me for much of the rest of the day, but this time I'm going to put aside and dedicate it to just doing a very primal thing. Anyway, those are the reasons I think that AI and lifting, they're not natural bedfellows at this stage. As I said, maybe in the future when AI advances a lot more, I'll have to eat my words, or maybe you can give me some reasons in the comments below why I should eat my words. Anyway, if you like the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. That really does help me to grow the channel. Please do check out our website, that's ukhomegym.com, and I'll see you next time on UK Home Gym.